Hello, my name is Brian Wood. Welcome to Ask MOGO, the all-request how-to design podcast where professionals answer your questions. Today's question comes from James L. He asks, I know I can export HTML from InDesign CS3, but the styles in my InDesign document don't have the same name as the styles in my CSS file. How can I get them to match? Alright, well let's take a look. I'm going to switch over to InDesign real quick. I do a lot of this sort of thing where I actually do a lot of web developing and I have people design the page itself or the site itself in InDesign, oddly enough, because I get to export as XHTML and take that to Dreamweaver. Now as a developer, I want to be able to control my styles, my style names, etc. So there's a couple things I pay attention to when I'm actually working in Dreamweaver as well as in InDesign before I export. First thing I want to pay attention to are obviously my style names. Now in InDesign, when the document is created, a lot of times I'll let my designer do what they need to do, and then I'll go in and actually edit the styles themselves, because your styles, your CSS styles, when they are exported, are actually pulling from your character styles, paragraph styles, object styles, that sort of thing. So if I look at the text out here, I'll get my cursor in there. What I tend to do is, if I have a paragraph, let's say out in the middle out here, and I want to just have a P tag that shows up in my XHTML, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll format it, I'll create a paragraph style, and I'll just delete the style later and actually tell it to use local formatting instead. That way, when it exports, I just get P tags. If I want to get a P tag with a class assigned, what I usually wind up doing is then I'll assign a style, like the basic paragraph or something like that. So paragraph styles actually apply to the tag itself, like the P, it'll say P class equals, and then style name like list or bold. Now if you start talking about character styles are actually what they do with spans in CSS. So if I have a little bit of bolding out here, you can see I can actually select somebody's name there. It says bold in the character styles. That would match a class called bold. So for my character styles, a lot of times those are classes that you're going to have assigned. And paragraph styles as well, it's going to do just classes, it doesn't do IDs in here. But also if you're trying to actually create things like an element, like a left column or something like that, if I select this text frame over here on the left hand side, what I've done is I've actually applied object styles to this, and I've got an object style called main nav or side nav or footer or something like that. When I export as XHTML, these object styles will go out as classes, but a class assigned to the div. So it'll say div class equals. So when I'm getting prepared to export as XHTML, a lot of times I make sure that my object styles, character styles, paragraph styles are all named correctly and assigned correctly. One thing to note is when you assign object styles to a non-text frame, something like a text or a frame, excuse me, that has like none assigned or graphic assigned, such as this one with the X in the back, that doesn't get exported. So I want to assign a graphic style to that, or an object style rather. So if I look at the bottom, I'll see this footer. This is a text frame. When I assign an object style, and I've got the footer object style assigned over here, it is exported as XHTML, and it says div class equals. Now, when you export as XHTML, just really quick cross-media export, when I get to the dialog box, and I'll just set this out on the desktop, I've already got one out there. In the Advanced tab, I have to declare what I want to do. Do I want to do empty CSS with them in the head section, no CSS, or link to an external, which I tend to do. That way they have to match. So when you work with exporting XHTML, you really need to pay attention to your character, paragraph, and object styles all together. So hopefully this helps.